Clare Morgan sank into the corner booth of the cozy cafe, her fingers curled around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, catching specks of dust in the air, turning them into tiny golden sparks, and made the hanging ferns shimmer like they were lit from within. It was one of those perfect autumn afternoons that should have made her heart lighter. But today, all she felt was that familiar, sinking weight of dread. Another blind date, her 5th this year, carefully orchestrated by her well-meaning and relentlessly persistent sister. Clare had agreed, mostly to silence the constant stream of concern and that thinly veiled pity that her family always seemed to reserve for her during holidays when she showed up alone. At 32, Clare's life was, objectively, a quiet success. She taught literature at the community college, had published 2 beloved poetry collections, volunteered at the animal shelter every weekend, and had a tight circle of friends who truly cared. By almost every measure, she was thriving. But society, or at least her family, had other ideas. To them, her life was incomplete, the glaring void being the absence of a man. And the problem, as her mother reminded her delicately and repeatedly, was her size. Clare was a curvy, plus-size woman in a world that glorified thinness, sharp angles, and visible bones. She had spent years fighting her own reflection, battling diets, and hating herself before finally learning to accept her body, love it even. Now she was healthy, active, and comfortable in her own skin. But the comments never stopped. The sideways glances, the unsolicited advice, the way men seemed to glance past her at social gatherings as if she were invisible. Clare's thoughts shattered when she looked up. Standing beside her table was a man who made her catch her breath. He was impossibly striking, dark hair swept back, a charcoal suit tailored to perfection, and eyes the color of stormy seas, blue and green swirling together. His smile was hesitant but warm, disarming in its genuineness. No, this couldn't be her blind date. Men who looked like him didn't appear at blind dates, and they certainly weren't matched with women like her. "I'm Ryan," he said, holding out a hand. "Ryan Fitzgerald." "Your sister Emily set this up," Clare said cautiously, still processing the surreal moment. "That's right," he replied. She shook his hand, trying to steady her racing heart. "Please, sit." As Ryan slid into the seat across from her, Clare studied him more closely. The sleek watch on his wrist, his assured posture, the way the barista had lit up the moment he walked in, all signs of someone accustomed to attention, to being admired. Her sister had warned her he was successful. But Clare suspected she had glossed over the details, perhaps knowing that if Clare truly grasped the gap between them, she might have refused outright. "I have to admit," Ryan began, that hesitant smile still tugging at his lips, "I was nervous about this. I haven't been on a blind date since college." "What made you agree to this one?" Curiosity edged out Clare's usual politeness, and she tilted her head. Ryan chuckled, a rich, genuine sound that transformed his striking features into something approachable, almost disarming. "Your sister is persuasive. She works at my company, Fitzgerald Industries, and she literally cornered me in the break room with photos of you, snippets of your poetry, and stories about your life. I couldn't leave until I said yes." Clare felt her cheeks warm, a mix of embarrassment and amusement. "I'm sorry. Emily means well, but she can be relentless. You don't have to stay. I'm sure there are better things to do with your afternoon than humoring a determined employee." "An obligation?" Ryan's brow arched, curiosity laced with disbelief. "Is that what you think this is?" "Isn't it?" Clare met his gaze, her bluntness sharpened by years of disappointment. "Look at you. Now look at me. We both know how this usually goes. You're here because my sister guilted you into it, or because you're too polite to say no. So why don't we just skip the awkward hour of small talk and part as friendly strangers? Ryan was silent for a long moment, studying her with an intensity that made her stomach tighten. Do you always assume the worst about people's motives? I assume what experience has taught me, Claire replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm not naive. I know what I look like. I know I don't fit the standard men like you usually. Choose. Men like me? Ryan echoed, slow, deliberate. You mean successful men, wealthy men, or just men in general? All of the above, Claire admitted, surprised at the sharp edge in her own voice. Let's save ourselves both some time. I've heard every line before. You have such a pretty face. You're beautiful for your size. You'd be perfect if you just lost some weight. So let's skip to the part where I excuse myself politely and we move on with our lives. Ryan leaned back slightly, his expression unreadable. You're right about one thing, he said quietly. This date isn't starting well. But not for the reasons you think, Claire's brow furrowed. Then enlighten me. Ryan's voice dropped, gentle but steady. Because you're so busy shielding yourself from imagined rejection that you're not even giving me a chance. You've written our story before we've exchanged more than a few sentences. You've already decided I'm shallow, that I only value appearances, that I couldn't possibly be genuinely interested in you. Ryan finished softly. Claire opened her mouth to argue, but no words came. Because deep down, she knew he wasn't wrong. I didn't agree to this date out of obligation, Ryan continued, his tone steady but earnest. Emily showed me your poetry. She keeps one of your collections on her desk. One afternoon I picked it up while waiting for her, and I started reading. I couldn't stop. Claire blinked, caught off guard. Your writing, he went on, it's extraordinary. It's real. You write about beauty that isn't polished or filtered. You make ordinary moments sacred. I wanted to meet the person who could see the world like that. Claire swallowed hard. That's a nice thing to say. Her voice was quieter now, the wall around her heart starting to crack. It's not nice, Ryan said firmly. It's true. Yes, I'm successful. Yes, I've dated women who fit that perfect image everyone seems to worship. And do you know what I learned? He let out a dry laugh. Most of those relationships were empty. Pretty faces, perfect selfies, no soul. I'm 35, Claire. I'm tired of surface-level connections. I want real. I want someone who feels things deeply. Someone like you. Claire's chest tightened. That's a lovely speech, she said with a trembling smile. But here's the thing, Ryan. I've spent years being told I'm not enough. That my kindness, my career, my poetry, none of it matters unless I fit into a smaller dress size. So forgive me if it's hard to believe a man who looks like you could genuinely mean that. Ryan didn't flinch. He just watched her, really watched her, with quiet intensity. Then he said something that made her breath catch. You're right, he said softly. No one marries a fat girl. Claire froze, her heart lurching. But before she could react, he continued, his voice low but fierce. At least that's what the world keeps trying to tell women like you. And that's exactly why we should prove them all wrong. Claire stared at him, stunned. What? Every person who's ever made you feel small, Ryan said, leaning forward, eyes locked on hers. Every date who looked past you. Every family member who pitied you. Every stranger who judged you before knowing a single thing about you. Let's prove them all wrong. Why? She whispered. Because you don't owe anyone proof, he said. You deserve to be loved for exactly who you are. And I'd like the chance to be the person who sees you that way. Claire's voice barely rose above a whisper. You don't even know me. Then let me, Ryan said, his tone gentle but unwavering. Let me meet the real you, not the guarded one, not the one who expects rejection. The one who writes about finding light in darkness. The one your sister says is funny, brilliant, loyal to a fault. He smiled, faint but sincere. Give me the chance to know her. The chance to discover for myself whether we have something worth exploring. Something inside Clare shifted. A wall she had spent years building, brick by brick with hurt and rejection, began to crack. Why would you want to take on someone else's baggage? She whispered. Someone who spent so long being told she's not enough that she's forgotten how to believe anything different? Ryan's lips curved into a sad, self-aware smile. Because I have my own baggage, he admitted. My ex-wife left me for her personal trainer. She said I cared more about my company than about her. Maybe she was right. For the past 2 years, I've kept walls up, dated casually, kept everything surface level because it's safer than risking real connection. He reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers, close enough to offer but not push, not assume. Maybe we're both broken in our own ways, he said softly. And maybe that's exactly why we should try this. 2 people who've been hurt, who understand how rare it is to be truly seen, and still choose each other anyway. Clare looked at his hand, then into his eyes. She saw sincerity, but also uncertainty, vulnerability. This wasn't a perfect hero swooping in to rescue her. This was a man who'd been hurt too, who was risking honesty in a world that had taught him to hide. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. Okay, she whispered. Let's start over. Hi, I'm Clare Morgan. I teach literature, write poetry, and I'm terrified of being hurt again. But I'm trying to be brave anyway. Ryan's smile lit up his entire face. Hi, Clare, I'm Ryan Fitzgerald. I run a tech company, work too many hours, and I'm equally terrified, but willing to try if you are. That afternoon stretched into evening as they talked. Truly talked. No walls, no pretense. Ryan shared his childhood, growing up with parents who valued success above all, the relentless pressure to prove himself, and the loneliness of building an empire with no one to share it with. Clare spoke of her battles with self-worth, how she'd found her voice through writing, and the quiet terror that she might never be chosen for who she really was. My mother once told me, Clare said, her voice trembling as the cafe emptied around them, that I needed to lose weight if I ever wanted to find love. She paused, swallowing hard. She meant well. She wanted me to be happy, but her words made me feel like I wasn't worthy of love just as I am. You are worthy, Ryan said firmly, not in spite of anything. Not if you change anything. You are worthy exactly as you are right this moment. Their first date became a second, then a third. Ryan introduced Clare to his world slowly, never pushing, always making space for her to remain herself. He attended her poetry readings, front row, beaming with pride. She visited his office, meeting employees who clearly respected him, and adored her sister, who barely hid her delight at seeing them together. But it wasn't all easy. There were whispers, glances, assumptions. People assumed Clare was his assistant, his sister, never his girlfriend. There were even family members who voiced doubt, thinly veiled criticisms. She's lovely, dear, Ryan's mother said at their first dinner. But is she really the type of woman you want to be seen with at corporate events? Ryan's answer was immediate, unwavering. She's exactly the woman I want, and anyone who can't see that doesn't matter. The type of woman I want to be seen with. Everywhere, mother, Ryan said, his voice steady. And if that makes you uncomfortable, perhaps you should ask yourself why someone else's appearance bothers you so much. Later, at a family gathering, Clare's aunt leaned close, whispering with that familiar, judgmental pity. Don't get too attached, sweetheart. Men like him don't marry women like you. Clare drew a steadying breath, the courage she'd been building for years now fully blooming. Maybe not, she said firmly. But Ryan isn't men like him. He's himself. And I'm not women like me. I'm myself. And together, we're writing our own story, not the one society thinks we should have. A year later, Ryan proposed, not with fireworks or grand gestures, but with words and thoughtfulness. He brought Claire back to the cafe where it had all begun, the same corner booth, sunlight streaming through the windows. He handed her a leather-bound book. "Open it," he said softly. Inside were pages of his own writing, reflections, confessions, and moments he had captured over the course of their relationship. Thoughts about her, about them, about what love truly meant. On the final page, a single question awaited. "Will you continue this story with me forever?" "Yes," Claire whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. 1,000 times, yes. Their wedding became a celebration of authenticity over appearances, of love that chose depth and truth over surface-level expectations. Claire wore a dress that fit her perfectly, celebrating her curves and her confidence. No hiding, no compromise. Ryan's vows were simple, yet profound. A promise to always choose her exactly as she was, and to remind her of her worth on days when she might forget. Perhaps the most memorable moment came at the reception. Claire's aunt approached, tears glistening in her eyes. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "So wrong. The way he looks at you, Claire. The way you've blossomed since being together. I've never seen anything more beautiful. I'm sorry for ever doubting that you deserved this." Claire smiled gently, reaching for her aunt's hand. "The thing is," she said, "I always deserved it. I just had to learn to believe it myself." Years later, Claire published her third poetry collection, Proving Them Wrong. The dedication read, "To Ryan who saw me when I couldn't see myself, and to everyone still learning that they are enough exactly as they are, because sometimes the greatest revolution isn't changing yourself to fit the world's standards. It's refusing the lies it tells you about your worth. Sometimes proving people wrong isn't about altering who you are. It's about finding someone who celebrates exactly who you already are. And sometimes the love you thought you didn't deserve finds you anyway, teaching you that you were always worthy, always enough, always deserving of being chosen. If this story touched your heart, reminding you that real love sees beyond appearances, like, share, and subscribe for more stories about finding authentic connection. Comment below with a moment when someone saw your true value, or when you learned to believe in your own worth. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.